Hey everybody, David Ursino from Remax Excellence here. I was speaking with a potential buyer this morning and they asked me how I work with buyers and specifically do I work with a contract. Let me answer those questions. Typically the way I work with a buyer is I have the buyer come into the office and we go through a buyer interview. In this interview, which can take anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes or so, I ask you lots and lots of questions. I want to find out about who you are, your life situation, why you want to move, where you want to move to, and what you're searching for. This gives me a chance to really get a good understanding of what it is that you're trying to accomplish so that I can better advise you that way. It also gives me a great picture of what it is you're looking for so that I can get you properties. I can show you properties that are in tune with what you're looking for. I find that if we spend this time up front, it saves us a lot of time in the future. Obviously at the buyer interview stage, you might also have a lot of questions about the home buying process, what you do, what you don't do, and I'll obviously answer all those questions as well. The second part of the question she had asked me was whether I work with a contract. Now, when we're talking about a contract, we're talking about what's called a buyer representation agreement. There's a lot of confusion about buyer representation. Buyer representation was basically brought in about 10-15 years ago to protect the interests or the rights of buyers out there, because before that, anybody showing a home, any agent showing a home to their clients was representing by law the interests of the seller. Even though you may have thought that, this agent's taking us out, he was actually representing the interests of the seller. So by introducing buyer representation, the rights of the buyers were going to be protected from that point on. So let me tell you about what it is. There's a couple of distinctions here. So the first one is whether you're a client, if you become a client by signing a buyer representation agreement, or you're a customer and you become a customer by signing a customer service agreement. The main difference is that as a client, again by signing the buyer representation agreement, the agent becomes legally bound to represent your best interests. What does that mean? Well, things like the agent's working for you, and he's got to make sure, excuse me, he gets you the best price on the house, the best terms, all that stuff. Basically, you're getting the service from the agent that you expect to receive. If, on the other hand, you don't sign a buyer representation agreement, then you're a customer, and by default, you're a customer. And being a customer means that the agent is not legally bound to represent your best interests. So that means he doesn't have to get you the best price. He's actually working for the seller. And the reason that is because when someone decides to put their house up for sale and they sign a listing agreement, then anybody showing that house, any agent showing that house, has got to represent the interests of the seller. Unless they've been proactive about signing a buyer representation agreement. There's a lot of, so I hope that explains the confusion that might be out there about buyer representation being a client versus not being a client, being a customer. I get that there's a lot of people out there that don't want to sign contracts. I hate signing contracts myself. I know my cell phone company wanted me to sign a 3-year contract. I didn't want to, forget it. I'd rather pay a little bit more for my cell phone and not sign a contract. But the main thing is that the contract can last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, depending on the situation. But that contract is there to protect your rights so that you can make sure that the agent is actually working for you and not for the seller. So I hope that answers your questions about buyer representation. If you have any more, by all means, shoot me an email. I'm at info@davidursino.com, or you can check me out online at davidursino.com. Thanks very much and have a great day.